Mercy no payas I'm going to say Our Father in my language, Chippewan language. Ako bechu dan zong besit akentina. No kaya kesinta kleine zin. The guides in the neck order no neither need the yak no that on kissing to an that's on in there. But odds in it on him to again night don't sin again no running to. Anagas no te no on in le. No ethni as no I with each no yo ana le abestine kent in there. Or another tini de ko be shoy darkness on chu. At it on the can't it on the hot any day. Mercy innocent a ko be shoy darkness on visit kent in there. Thank you.
Ingito siya kaya na may mayakat Bertha. Tuksak sa kauman. Hever odang do kaya na ang tao gumayo nga number 4 mo ilitak sa na pura sa mayuning kaya na may tan hever do at may tan ang tao mangman pula kaya sa mayuning number 4 may tan katiba jutik sa niya bigay ako mangman agak tao nginawa at ibigay Minister o kausingit. Minister o kausingit. Minister tanan gaban malaki kunon. Kaya na may kakti. O lumini ko ito nga ito. Sakti siya kung along ito. Abang nagtago pang nagsimagakang na yun. At siya may tamak ko asolo. Sila kasi sa palyanin nga ito. Abang nagtukakatarak matamatumamiksano. Tayo maukaw sa kakumagama. Kiyokata ko na ako tiginaktatin ni. Tayo na pang nagsimat siya kakpugo. Tayo na kamagiya katawlo ta ilin niya at sa katawlo taron na lang ni. Tayo na pila kang napo tamagkano na siya may tayo na kiupiyo siya katakuluwid akyo masyarlo tayo ukiyok takto may kano'y pala katalang na ano.
Be ready, public awareness.
Paglis pang nagsimagayak na pagod. Tayo na ito sakit siya kumalutalo. Tuwabang naktugo pang nagsimat siya kakata tamat kulutano. Pila kaya kayawi akang mano na lang ni Mayo nunat siya gawang magkungilo. Amaloga madokakot asing ilo tako. Pila kaya katigayaw yun. Kamagaya kang mata tamat mamiksanon. Amalutaw tayo na ito kisigaw tiksan ito atut siya lutik. So, lo pang nagsimatselo teglo ato aksanik, amar pang nagsimatselo teglo panagsimanang mod, tamagkano na li sanginaksaw sa ngumata pang nagsimagaangamig, sanginaksaw lutik, tayo na nunatsami, tayo na sanginaksaw yung maake, matsya ako ng mata, tilisibungat ako nga maligaliw teko katamayingin tayo na pang nagsimatsya ako katawluin. O kakti, tayo na pang nagsimatsya na taman na pilakaya kakatigo kama marukta ang uluta, nunaling ni gava mauyuta ako, kayong nasaktawod, tayo na pang nagsimatsya ako nakuluga, kanutuin na, ayong nasakat tiglo, pag nautakat siya lutiglo, kanu ito kakalang nakpan. Nunat siya gava makongilin niya, at sa katak mata kamagiyak kakatak lutiglo, tamatumamiksanod, gava matakakuti, nawakat sa katak lutiglo, asingin niglo, tayo na tamakko, gava makuti, makutigingit, angit, asingin lo, pilarang period, akilaktuwa ang isuliglo, pilarayi, tayo na ikayo katakil lutigtao, pang nagsimat siya, kaya kang matakik, kutuin na kanuiliw, kaya kang mga kaming, taman na ikayong nakaulo na siya kaba magkong akik suway sa mga mata taman na tukasiyo siya tawag kaktunin pila kaya kang namot taman na lo kanu nunalin niyo kanu iliw kaya mga ata kimay nerlutin nunaming ni taman na pakota kaya kaksuti ilagid inato kahit amalo asang itako at iwa kuro itako akamagiyaw siya kaya kasungulutin tako titikak taw sa mayo tako atok taw na po kalimak taw na sutiglo kanuiliw kaya kang mga kawang naktokatilyo ko o kakti taman na pang nagsimat siya kakata taman na nunattinni tamaani sapummitsiaqunaqulu nunagijarput ammalutta pimmaqiumma tamaani nunatsiami May 21 2026 nutillugu nunatsiagaavamakkunga pileqaqalaqarluti nunatsiami qatterijikkungit katataqatigikunginnut nutaamik taamana pileqiaqaariaqalilaarmata soorlu ikkuallattualuunnermigutta tamakkua aulatse naluneersisimallutigilu 2023 ngulaortumi qanuiliulaarmangaata kamagiyaqatsiariaqaqatta tamatummiksaanun ikkuallattoqartualuulernermikpan aaqissisimallutigilu tamakkua nunatsalimaami qanuiliuriaqarmangaata ammalu ilinniartitaugiaqarmangaata qanoq tamakkua qawijimatsiartut atortautiarluti ilinniartissinermun taimanna pileriaqarluta nunattinni taimanna tamakkua nunait nanituinna parnaksimatsiariaqarniarmata soorlu uluqianartumi taaliqullugit sangineqaqullugit aulatsinermut heerumiut fortsamsan Inuktitut ammalu taimanna pilerigutataarsimagu ilinniartitausimallutiglu qanuiliuriaqarmangaarmi ikuallaqqaqartualuulernarmikpat taimanna parnavutaqarpugu tamatapiksaanu aaqissimatsiaqunaqullugu aqaagu tamaaqimaguyoqattarlutik tuavernartukku tamakkua parnaksimani ikuallaqqaqartualuulernerpa akaujumariusuungumma parnaksimatsiarnersauluni suurlu ulurluartoqarnerpat asingillu ikuallattualuunnerpata nunatsiagavamakkungi sangilertitsigasuarpu ilinniarutiksauniartunik taimana tuavernartukku kamagiyaqarunnaqullugit tamakkua kikkutuinnagit tukisiumatjutiksatsiavangni pitaqartitautsiarunnaqullugit taimanna pigiaqaqaangamik tamanna pilereeriaujuq soorlu atortaulersimangmat qanuiliurutikilaursamayivu maliklugi ukiortartami ikuallattualulaursamatillagu aaqqiumatsiariaqaqatta saattaujuksautsiarlutalu uqarti taimanna qaujikkaayigumajunga nunalingni tuavernartulerenermu akilertugauqilluti ikajurtiuqattartut ammalu qatteriyoqattartut nunalingnilu kamagiyauju nunaqaqqaarsamayullu ilagiyaugiaqarmata gaamagiyarpullu taimanna pileruutiqarniarmata ilinniartitsiguteqarlutiglu sapummiyautiaqullugi nunalignimiu nanituinna qoyannami oqarti qoyannamik minister maakakkunnut minister uqausingit minister avatimiutallernermuusalo asisseqqalianinganullu oqarti taimanna parnaksimatsiarnersaulaqatta taimanna ikuallaqtoqartualuunnerpat tamanna tusarnermarittaut tusarsugu taimanna soorlu pigiarutiksagi isayartattinning aaqqiumatitsigatta taakkua nunalittimiut ammalu nunaliuyut aaqqiumatsiarasuarluting qanuiliuriaqarniarmangaarmiik taakkua qapteriya qanuiliuriaqarniarmangaata asingillu nunaqaqqaarsimayu kaavamakkullu asingin oqarti taimanna ikuallattualuulernerpata tamakkua aulagutiugayaartulu avatimiutaleriikkunnu silua asisserpallianinganullu pilereeriyaungmata ilinniartissaqattarlutik tamakkua qawijimatsiaqullugit tamakkua parnaksimagiaqartut ikuallattoqartualuulernermikpat taimanna akaunersaulerput tamakkua sanginersaulerlutiglu ammalutau ilinniartitautsiaqattarlutiglu ikajortautsiaqattarlutiglu qawijimatsiartunik taimanna kamayiksaugajartunik aqaaqamisavan taakkuatit ilinniartitausimaq lermata taimanna parnaksimatsiarunnaqulugit sangineqatsiaqullugillu ikuallattoqalernermikpan oqarti qawijimagatta taimanna inutuuluta pikunnajaanginnattigu pileqatigiaqarpu nunalignimiun ammalu qapterigiujunnunaqaqqaarsimaju gavmakkungillu asingillu tamakkua ikajoriaqasuut taimanna taanna pilereerisamaleqlugulu akunikallaulertoq ammalu nunali ilagiyautiarlutik tamanna pilereeriyaujo asingillu parnagutiqatsiarniarpugut sadajutaqatsiarlutalu taimanna qawijimatsiarlutalu qanuiliuriaqarmangaata ikuallattualuulernermikpata tamaani nunnassamilu ikajortigiyauniarpu gavamakkungit parnaksimanermut uktuutigiyauqaraugunnartortamanna tusartitsiaujutaularma nunatsiarmia tamakkua imanna aaqqiumatsiarlutik ilinniartissinermu qanuiliuriaqarnermullu ammaluttauq ikuallattoqalernerpa nunalingna qanuikiaqaqajarnermut taman na pinarayok taman na atok tagon nakpok tuwang naktukod atok tawe kalang nakpat taman na 2003 2023 mi tamak ko malik sa malugid ake matis si malakat 2026 kung lektamelo taman na pero dita ulo yak sa maluta katta ko tiksa wayak to ning amara magong ni niwak sa malaksuta sabab may ko tiksa ni ta ko nga magong naling no taman na akyo man juti ginayak tabot aki suksal tiyak sa mang manuta ni maligak sa kakon na kuluta taman na ulo kaya nang itamita ila makuluta lo naling ni ilin niya ko tiksa ilo sakya lakluting asing ilo nunat siya ka ko nga pila katakatak mata nunat siya makapta kasi ko ito sa karigi kung inig taman na pila kaniyak tabo kiugo tikit siya kung nakulugo taman na akani ula ko tabi kawilaw at tako ano na rin niya kapta kasi taman na ikayo katak sa maluti sa puminang mo naling nig tagpa ni akago may atok tabi taman na atong niya kabugod pang nagsimat siya ta ilin niya kasimat siya talo o kakti taman na kapta ni 2026 may taan na to pilira ka to aking itakpo taman na pilira ka kilutat sangin na kakti tao yun na kuluta tama to miksano 7 exao na aktabi taman na kayo matitsit siya ako ni ujuk ko pilira sa kanya tinik tayo ka ni Fort Smith may taman na ako ni ujuk taman na pilira kayak po kayo matsiyang na po piluak taming taman na ikayok tao siya ako nakulugi kikutin na ikaw makunig amalusak lo ami pita kakulo ya keluta kanwili ko tiksa wayak tunig amalo nuta ni pilira kang niya ta taman na akeba siya ako nakuluta ikayok takat siya ako nakulugi lo kikutin na nunali sa pamaya ko lugin o kakte kaya namin ako maya ka ikanayak tilimat tako na paktula kayo ko na iton abatibay tala kayo ko na sila asadyak palya ng anordo akawot na mami tayo na pila kaya kakatak mata pang nagsamat siya ako sa akluting ikaw lang to kang niya ning picture na kakluting ako New York lo pila kakatak suting aulat siya kumaluting kapta kayo miksano ang ikani amalo na ni Twinak tayo man sa pumigaya sa puminak so na Twinak ni ikaw alak tamot iman na tamarok tangin no kikutin na kamagiyaw yakang man tayo man na ilangan na akpukuta ko apiri ko malugil-lugil ko tuwin na tayo man na ikaw alak tisita alam ako lugit tayo man na nunat siya bang may kataaw yaw na akta may kawaya siya na akpa si nautsak to siya lo silo taman na nuna ikita alam ako lugo ang maruto kamit siya katang lugil kimailaw nginisin niya kaya na may kakti kaya na may minister abatabi talaga mo sa lahat sa sakpalya ng anulo minister o kausangit inuwi bulag mamalagalakti kaya na may kakti o kakti tayo na number 4 unugo man yung pula ka sa may yung niiritak sa ng mik inuwi buklang may kaya na mik inuwi buklang may apirigalo man number 4 mo malong ka tamajutik sa ni iritak sa nakpula ka sa may unik agak tawa nginabi at ipigarat ilitak sa ni pula ka sa may unik hey river may katamay kaya na may kakti kaya na may katamayo katika hey river may to grade 6 may lin ni akto taman na katiman kuta tagbani soklo hey river mo ako niya kama ang kakpalyalo nga itong sa kayak Tana Berry, Abigail, George, Miss Patterson, Lafferty, Tako Inuktitut, Braxton Reimer, Noel Ruggles, Noel Campbell, Alexa Neeson, Lincoln Fraser, Amalapana Brown, Knox Jack Walsh, Gail Shepard, Reagan Webb, Christine Dressel, kaya may hero ni Kano Malagalokte. Pula sa may nailitak siya hero North. Kaya may okakte amaluto tungo sa kaya tako Princess Alexander may linyap to grade 6 kotika. Tako ako vegit siya pagka tako ilitaki ka malugin. Arisa mo say hantu king ani king Ako ajing ito ating tayo tangit aji mikati wall Tampor Daniel Leblanc Olivia Pinton John Francis Amaluta ko kamayingin okaw sa kaluwit Steve Campbell Amalo pakatan kayon miyo kakti hero wang nanganot kayon nami ilitak sinipulaka sa mayunik ta sa tumi malagalakti kayon nami okakti taman na tako ilitak kumayakata ko pizza kakti cover lake mingaktut Jada Snow lupakatarutan na kayon nami ilitak sinipulaka sa mayunik range like mo malagalakti kayo naman kakte iltak kumayakata ko ikanayakte kinawin na kawin sakta sa pilakayingit Joan Swart na ang ngayong kakayawayok tagbunga Emilian Diwang ang malutaw tusama rin siya Prince Francois ang nakasawyok ang malutaw Sarah McDermott tautan na katamay ilagay yaw kataw doon ako yan na may pilarat siya katakat sino na siya mita magkuakinaw yan ang kawin sa kota kakasa ko yan na may Kaya ni make range like me malagalewak te ilita sen pula ka sa mayunik kaya ni may okakte tayo mata tunga sukti kumayatan na pizza tetina tayo man na pila ka TV siya so ni pakatakto amarto ilita sigumalungatan na natakakataw tan na yang nikulo tagbonga kulo tagwa ilita kumalego Kaya na may kam like may malagalewak tayo iltak sinipulaka sa mayunik. Iltak sinipulaka sa mayunik. Amaruta ito nga so kuyakata ko agways like may ilin ni actor at heavy romeo tayo. Amaruog lang o tilda ko pulaka kaong mata apik sa oro yakata kaong mata ko yan na may pagkarot tao tako kabali kayo yun. Pilarat siya sa mga mata ramata mamiksanot.
Anybody else? I reckon I'd like to say.
Kuy kung na umaukang na ako si Tanalo Dalan Tana Kaujimat siya tan na pilaga katika ko for McMorrison may kaiman na ilitaking nito ko ning nga matatuin na kaya hangman. Wala ka sa mga ilitak sinak.
Visitors in the gallery.
Katamayin o kausikit. Pamilay po malagalawak te. Kaya na may okakte isumalo ko kakamata sa na tap sa mga kaya nito ning isumalo ko yan nik tamak ko sa lumaksay nik tamak ko nga uyang neaking nik ukto tigayagon ng mata tamak ko ukaw sa kakatak sa mayak ka sa lumaksaktaw sa mga ito snap like may dako sa lumaksaktaw kaya kalawak sa mayok $70 million kalawak sa mga man Tako 160 million iglo ato kaya karaw sa magatatamad mamig sa ano sa lumaksan ng mut amalutaw tanataw dahil man mayon nakaktaw yo uyakang niyakwit so lo aligo yanig tako uyakang niyakatakto sa lumaksaktaw kaya kakalotik taw tako kalakatigilo kaya kawid yung matigiyak ka ukaw sa kayaw lang mataman na Ugpirusok ka mataman na akik tao ni aktilugo taman na kamagayaw kaya kalaking taman na ilagay magut tao tayo man na tao akito yung makayo ni akilunig tao tayo man na kawji salang makakangat atako ay malakaji kuno na lakaji kulo ilaw kaya kasungong mata kinaw yan niglo ato kaya kasutik siwon niya agad akito yung makayo nilaw kampanya yulo tayo man na akilak doy kaya kalaka kataksuting sarang maksay niya miksana pidula kaktuning kanok lo sa magkuha ka magiyaw kaya kang nga ta pidula gilo ko tayo man na matuyaw kaya ka laungin niya ni salam maksaktaw kaya kasong mata ikariman na tao salam maksaktaw kaya kang nakalunit tao kaujis lao ka ko taman na asang ita ko tutigil lugit atok tawag yung si mayo taman na salam maksay ng muya kang neaping ning pilakaya kayo malaw kakutaw o kausa kayo malaw kakutaw kaya man na ako tamado kaujis saktaw katakso di salam maksaktaw siya sa mga doang mga ta Dalunayaqtauqattarlutiglu salamartausimatsiangittut taimanna uuktuutigijarput atortagunnaqajangmata tamakkuaaqissortaavallialuting soorlu tagava apeqsorniarpuga tamatammiiksaana apeqsornaulerpoqayanmiuqarti katamayiu York Frame Lake mut ila katamayiit oqausingit range like mummalagaliorti Taiman na iditaqigamallugit tamakkua Buffalo eokko tamakkua 56 ni ukiunik soorlu atortausimalaqmatanunnatsiami ammalui kajorsimallaqigillutik pivalliati taunningannu nannituinna nunatsiami engeqajaqattarlutik taimanna business kijaujoq tamanna atortumaqajutsiarsimangmanunatsiami ammaluttaa ikajullaqeqattarlutiglu nunnalinnamiutaujonik tamakkuninga atortaullaqigiaqartanginning soorlu naksaqattarluti agjarsaqattarlutiglu ammalun nunatsialuktaami taimanna ikajorsimalluti tamaani nunatsiarmi saqqayaanginnaqattarlutiglu ikajoqattamata qanutuinna taimanna sulillaqinningalu tamanna qalillaqinningannu nunaliuyun taima Buffalo Airways ngonaqa 56 ni ukiunik taimanna nunatsiamiutaulermata soorlu 100 ungataana avvalluaq soorlu taimanna pilerisamalerlutik soorlu ikimatitsillutik ammalu sunatuinnarni agjartuaqattarlutik tamaani nunatsiami 56 ukiun anigorsimalertillugi mikiyukuluulaorsimayugulu anginimmaqiulermata taissumanitoqautillugu kampalingat nunaliuyullu soorlu agjartorviusu taimanna qauyimatsiarmata taimanna tingmisuuleqaneq pitaqariaqainnerniarma tamaani pitaqainneriarsunilu taimanna qauyimalaqattugu taimaitillugu Buffalo Airways taakkuanu ukiortartami pileriqattarmata qauyimayautsiarlutiglu ammalutau kamatsiarunnaqattarluti tamakkuninga ikkiirnartualuutillugu tamaani ukiortartumi taimaittuugaluartillugu ajungitsiarsimallutiglu ammanu qapteriqatauqattarillutiglu ikuallaktoqaleraangan nunalingnimiutayunni ikajoqattarlutiglu tamakkua tingmisuurtik nanituinneq Joe ammalu asingi taakkua DC Dreaming aulaartitsaqattarmata pilerigutiqarlutiglu tingmisuuriyaminnik taimanna unatarviarnaulaurtumi tingmisuutoqaalungni atoqattarmata ilagiyautsiarlutiglu ullutamaarsiutigivaktattinnuuk tamanna quviagiyautuinnangittor pilerillattaaqattarmata ikayullataarlutig taimanna upigeqataugumayakkataakkua upigeqataulaorsiguttaun taimanna qaujimaneriarput Buffalo Airways nguussimayyu taakkua upigitsiaqullugiit tingmisuurtangillu ajungitsiarluting pileriyingillu salammarsaaqattarlutig taikani mittarvingmi taimanna iliunginnarniarmata taimaqa akunikalla makitainnarniarluting qainmi oqarti range like mummalakaliortiqajunnami katamayi oqausangit Grace like mummalakaliorti qainmi oqarti ullumi 2026 mi tamakkua Adriana Kabankataanna taimanna uqausaqarsimangmaraqaaguttama taimaalioqattarsuni taima ullumi nikuvittunga tamanna sila asajjarpallianiqayanganun akaungiliuqutigiyaarma tamaani nunatsiami gavamattoqakkut taimanna pingasuertarlutigu anginersaulermata tamakkua 2026 mid 2030 uniartumun tamanna soorlu qanatuinna asajjarpallianiarma nunagiyarpu tamatumamiksaannut October 2025 utillugu taimana tuavernaartuleriyikku kamagiyaaqalaorsimangmata kiullutik 2023 mi ikuallaktualulaorsima nittinne ammalu ulurlualaorsima nittinnut taimanna pileritsiarsimallutik oqarti imanna pimmariu simangmatattau tamakkua kamatsiaraaqaqattigu kikkutuinnain August 2023 utillugu kigullaqpaami taimanna qimaigiaqalaorsimagatta uteriaqarlutalu taimanna qimaigiaqarnittinnuq ikuallaktualunni soorlu akaungiliuqutaqalauqatta isumakkut asingittigullu Ammalo kimaigia kaangna tamanna akaungittor jaamaqaaluutillugu nallunangittor taimanna atornerlu qalausamangmatta kikkutuinnain soorlu qanituinna sanajioqattartun asangillu taimanna parnaksimatsiareqaaratta tuavernaartoqaleraangat soorlu pujorluk asangillu tamakkua isuilliorutigilu timittinnu 2023 mi taimanna aaqqistausamalaorsamangman taimanna ittoqaqqannartaaliqigaluarpugut tamatta qinnimioqartee katamayu grade slave'mut katamayiit uqausangit makansadeartamu malagaleorti.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My statement today is about the importance of restorative justice options for those Indigenous people who have committed offences. Restorative justice is an approach to addressing wrongdoing that focuses on repairing harm, promoting accountability, and rebuilding relationships rather than focusing solely on punishment. Restorative justice brings together all those affected by an offence. Mr. Speaker, without access to restorative justice pathways, many Indigenous people are left with few alternatives other than incarceration in correctional facilities within and surrounding the Northwest Territories. Housing an inmate in these institutions costs an average of $600 per day per person, far exceeding the costs associated with community-based restorative justice programs. Given the growing financial burden and ongoing concerns about the effectiveness of traditional correctional rehabilitation programs, restorative justice offers a more meaningful, culturally relevant, and cost-effective approach to accountability, healing, and rehabilitation. Currently, individuals charged with offences requiring incarceration are removed from their communities and placed in one of Northwest Territories' correctional facilities. For many Indigenous individuals, incarceration away from their home communities has proven to be costly and often does little to address the underlying factors of contributing to their criminal behavior. Mr. Speaker, evidence shows that restorative justice is often more effective than traditional correctional approaches in promoting rehabilitation, lowering reoffending, and supporting victim healing and closure. Its purpose is to foster accountability, healing, and safer, healthier communities through open discussion of a harm caused and collaborative approach to developing meaningful solutions. A key advantage to restorative justice is that programs are typically delivered within an individual's home community or through regional and on-the-land initiatives helping maintain cultural connections and community involvement through the healing process. Mr. Speaker, I seek unanimous consent to conclude my statement.
Thank you. Member from Mackenzie Delta. Member from Mackenzie Delta, seek unanimous consent to conclude his statement. Are there any nays? Seeing no nays, you may conclude your statement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, colleagues. Mr. Speaker, restorative justice is often the preferred option for first-time and non-violent offenders, providing opportunities for healing, accountability, and rehabilitation within the community, while correctional centres remain appropriate to managing high-risk and violent offenders. I will have questions for the Minister at the appropriate time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, member from Mackenzie Delta. Member statements. Member statements. Member from Yellowknife North.
Mr. Speaker, would you believe that 12% of NWT children have received prevention or protection services from CFS? Children in care are some of our most vulnerable community members, and the vast majority are Indigenous. We know that this is a result of a colonial legacy that is hard to break and must be broken. We know it is all of our responsibility to protect children in care, but even when we're trying to protect them, somehow it's easy to forget that children are not just a thing, a case file, an administrative exercise, something to be put somewhere. This past March, the Auditor General issued its report on Yukon's Family and Children's Services, which highlighted many systemic problems that should be familiar to all of us as well. high staff vacancies and turnover, unmanageable workloads for social workers, many missed reviews and check-ins. But in any Auditor General report, just like reports issued by our own Child and Family Services, we don't hear the voices of children. We don't hear what it means for children when there's high staff turnover, when they don't know who their social worker even is, when no one is available to help them arrange visits with their aunties and their cousins. In the Yukon Child and Youth Advocates' response to that audit, they said, the experiences of children in care are often invisible to the public. These are sensitive, confidential matters, and young people involved with FCS, many of whom are quite young, rarely have opportunities to share their perspectives publicly. Now, to ensure that children are meaningfully included in decisions that affect their lives, the Yukon Advocate recommended that mandatory processes be set up to ensure children and youth are heard or represented in all key decisions, including care planning, placement changes, and case reviews. Social workers and children themselves need to understand what children's rights actually are, and then you need an independent children's advocate to take what they're learning from working with hundreds of children one-on-one and share that with the public and with policymakers so those experiences become visible. Mr. Speaker, I ask for unanimous consent to conclude my statement.
Thank you. Member from Yellowknife North. Member from Yellowknife North is seeking unanimous consent to conclude her statement. Any nays? No nays. Me proceed. Member from Yellowknife North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So here in the NWT, we don't yet have an independent child and youth advocate, and we desperately need someone to take on that role. We need to stop seeing children in care as a thing that we just need to better administrate and better support children in taking back some control over their own lives. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Lake North. Member statements. Member from Inuktitut.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, many seniors in the Northwest Territories are facing growing financial pressure because of the cost of living has risen dramatically. While government subsidy programs have not kept pace with the reality. Essential expenses such as food, housing, fuel, transportation, and utilities continue to increase, especially in northern communities where costs are already among the highest in Canada. Mr. Speaker, at the same time, the income thresholds used to determine eligibility for senior support programs remain outdated and unrealistic. Seniors who have worked their entire lives and receive modest or moderate pension incomes are often excluded from assistance because they technically earn too much to qualify. However, in practical terms, their income is still not enough to meet the high cost of living in the North. This creates a serious gap where many seniors are left without support despite struggling to afford basic necessities. No senior should be penalized for having a modest pension or forced into financial hardship because government programs have failed to keep pace with the economic realities. Mr. Speaker, we need a review of these subsidy programs and eligibility thresholds to ensure they reflect the actual cost of living in the Northwest Territories today. Seniors deserve policies that recognize their contributions, protect their dignity, and allow them to live safely and affordably in their own communities. When reviewing these policies, cultural and family realities in the Northwest Territories must also be recognized. Many seniors are not only supporting themselves, they're also caring for and providing for extended family members. In many households, grandparents are raising younger children and taking responsibility for ensuring they have nutritious food, proper clothing, school supplies, transportation, and opportunities to participate in sports, recreation, and community activities. Mr. Speaker, these responsibilities are deeply rooted in Northern and Indigenous cultural values of family care, intergenerational support, and community well-being. Current policies often fail to recognize these realities and instead assess seniors based only on income, without considering the number of dependents they support or the broader role they play within their families and communities. Mr. Speaker, this creates a serious gap where many seniors are left without support despite carrying significant financial and caregiving responsibilities. We need a comprehensive review of these subsidy programs and eligibility thresholds to ensure they reflect the true cost of living and the lived realities of seniors in the Northwest Territories. Policies must be flexible, culturally informed, and responsive to the important role seniors play in maintaining strong families and healthy communities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Member from Nunavut Boot Lake. Member state.
Katamayo ko singit ana katamayo yok mga koyen mi ukakte Uko sa kakapta tamak kuninga kana Chief Jimmy Bruno ilin niya pe tay kanimi utaw yun uko sa kakabaga may tamak kuninga ilin niya wang may 1971 may 2000 1971 may matuyak tao lang sa mga mailin niya matuyaw lo nilo tayo mga ngani tamak ko ilin niya kaya katalaw sa mayo atok tao hatta kung nilaw sa mga mata tayo sa mani tako ilin niya kaya palaw sa mga mata katang isuriglo ang ano kaming ni tayo man na ukaw sa gumaya tamat mamiksa pidyo na kaktong kaya man na ukaw sa kayaw lo katangin mataman na Jimmy Bruno ilin niya nga Tana Chief Jimmy Bruno ilin niya nga tayo ko 1971 May 2006 mo tayo man na ilitakiyo siya kakalawak man pima kayo ni nga nun Tana ilin niya so raawlak sa bangman nung nakakasimayog ko ilin niya ito ni kamayakat takso ni kabamatukag ko na aura tao doon ni ambro tao ilin niya ito siyingit kalunan nangan nga sa makatalaw sa balutik akirakto katak sa tiglo anak ta katak sa tiglo kanuilio katak ulo yak sa tiglo iliniak to ding ilitakayo sa matsaya kaya kang mataman na kanuilio ko tayo sa maningit ang ayok kakayaw itamak ko tayo kanilin niya kaya palaw sa mayunod tayo man na akaw na sak ko ino sa kakitaw na siya kaya kakalawang mata
and protected.
Kamagiyaw siya kaksulilo sa pamiyaw siya rotek amalunod akat solo nang ing may kuling ay yukulilaw sa mga mata ikayok tiyak ang iluamon ilang ilo ni solo kantuin na imelong mon asang inulo ang ayang naktunon ato katalang mata akaw ngaliw ko dekas sa mayo tukaw yuwiniw ni nang may napidyo dekakto ni teman na nutakakulutin luging Ukakte tako ang ayok kakayaw yu tayo manilin niya kati sa katalaw sa mga mata. Sibunik sa katsa kulog ita magkuano takangin kisa na kaw yung malawangin mata asasik tao yung makayalo lawak sa mga mata ilin niya kaya kataw lawak sa mayod. Natsaga magkong ita magkunin nga ilin niya ringnik. So lo kinalakati siyo katalaw sa mga mata. Tama nun natsiyang may utaw lutik to tama ko din niya kaya palaw sa mayut tako ang lutik kaya magkunod kamagiyaw luktangin ang mataman na yumi iman na tana ilin niya kaya kataktilo inusingin asidyak tumakiw law sa mga mata ilita kaya siya kaya kaluang matik hinamitigo ikayok tao lutiklo kaya magkutay man na ilita si lutik akiligi akalaw le kamat siya lutiklo tayo man na kamagiyaw siya ako nakulugod ulumi ulit to ilin niya kaya kalawak to kaya may ukakte mo mo malagalawak to kaya na may katamayin ukaw singit sa tumit malagalawak to kaya na may ukakte tako umerto akot solo ingin kakataktot sa tumi utaw yun tayo man na solo akikinaksak ko umerto akakpalawak sa mga mata tayo man na ako dakangin na monunak ko pijit sa kaktaw siya akong nalawak sa mga mata umerto ako kisyani sikaw kulo kisyani tama na sila kasi siyak pala ng ano tayo man na akaw ngaliw katamata awyak kot amaruta akti yung makalo nating miso ko sunod-tuin na nitikitit siya swala angata amarunok kakatakso tayo ilan ni kulo so kangit siya makakatakso tayo tayo man na akaw ngaliw ko tila kayo lang magabang makunon amalo tikisay gasukalo angata sunod-tuin na ning tikitaw ka tikakatangin mata awyaluktan amarutaw solo imakit makiulak tilugid umerdo ako umerdo ingin kayon nakatagiman ukakti tayo watsi ako kani apirin ako nga pakuterdo alari kuning kanuiliyok sa malang mga tatawan miksano kaya namik katamayo sa atomik katamayi ukaw singit katamayi di chomot Kain me okakte ullumi. Upigitsia po nga tahan na Christian Samba kemi tahan na maligali okte ullunga ullumi. Upigitsia ko tahan na kamagiyaw katao kataksimayok. Tamani de chomi tahan na pijutigit lugo. Tahan na makotuluni taman na ilo semangman. Ukiyong sa malakto na amisod ilagi taman akituyarong na akiligi akasokong mata. Iglo na kanamot na kanulo. Akitok pala tuwin nakatakluting. Taman sunat tuwin na akitok pala lakangat ilagi taman na nakakasugay kakatak mata. Sewanik sa unik taman kanuilyong nilakaluang mga angming. Solo tamakko atuktuang na mo iglo nito akitok pala tuwing nakalo ni 2020 kulli ko 12.8% taman na iglo taman na solo akilaktagon na ilimaking mata atuktuak tao kaluak suting ta korukta sunarukta sa solo nuta tamakko apekto solo niuwek sa akitok pala akatak suting Amisot tamakko naling ni miyo tao ilangit solo ilangin niglon ni bakataw ni siya making mata amaro ingin kanang mo tamakko usiyaw ng mulo akilik tao kakton akitok pala tuwing naksuting tayman na akitok suri amisot makialuin tayman na ilagay ngo yulo tayman na ilin niya kaya kakpagsutik piliyak to kaya kakpagsutik lo ilin niya ko yung melo tamakko atok tao wakton taman na China tao pisong lutik tao akitok na makayalo luting tamakko kakataw yakala ako iman na makayalo akituyokat na mata taman na akitok pala ito ng mata ilang iluni niwakatangit siya making niyatok sahon akiligon na iliga ang amig tamakko ni nga atok tao yakang pagtuning kaya na may okakte. Kaya na may katamayuyok de chamot. Katamayid o kausingit. Yellow life katianot. Kaya na may okakte. Okakte. Taman na anak tulakan na taman na solo. Kamagiyaw na so. Yakak lagaluang man. Ulo tamak siuti. Solo ikayok tutsyak. Lugibigay akalagat tigo. Mitawili akatak tulo. Asangilo. Taman na so okakte nunat siya mitamani taman na anak bilang na taman na inusang mo aktual laki katangman kau yung matsyak dit sila okta anak so ni ilan ni kun so lumalik tabi akakto ni maligay akasungugat maliglugilog tamat ko anak bilang na mo malik tabi akasungugat takton ilan ni kullo iman na sa tawag sa kit ko mga nalunak sa katangman tayo man na tamakangat ta iman na malilawngin na biyo ko nga maliktawi kakto ni tamak sa malakputila tao katakso dalo sa tao nga katang mata tamak ko anak bali akpagtun so luka kapitoktud ang maluta ko nga nirejud ayo akso yung juad kikuduin na uwang atuin na utilong ali kinaw yakang inaksaw tilong aksong itilong alo tayo man na kamagiyaw siyang naksaw yakang kalwa kama tao tugluta namituin ng ila kaw yung man nang imanlaw ni ilan ni ko kanuito ni maligaya kang mga ta maligag sa kalwak ni nganon anak bilang ni ang luni pilakajita ako naktugot tamag ko ni nga kaw yung mati kakaya kasungo at ta kaw yung man nang iti kalwak tilugo ang yaktaw lutat tao kisya niyo kasungo gilo ni amar tao ilan ni kon soklo inik sa liok tao si malo ni anak bilang namon pita ka kaya kakataklo nilo nalunak ng makayalo lakatang man kano iliyo kaya kang mga ta ikayok te kang nani kaya na yok kakte katamayuyok yellow life katianot kaya namik katamayit ukausingit tema ullumi ukausaqaqumajunga taassuminga Louis Bethel taana angun inuusinga soorlu nunamiinnermu ilagiikkuleqinnermullu ileqqusituqanillu qausimatsiarsuni January 4, 1942 mi inuulaorsimangma Lake British Columbia mi William Amalu Germain Bethelmun Amalu pigaalisaartillugu inuusinga taimanna nunamiutaulluni soorlu angayunga nukangaluunni taimanna ammaluttau ilagilertangi taimanna tuktuvaksiorатталаорсимарматат аммалу миккигиарниақаттарлути қимуксиккун скиту тақалаунгиннигани тайманна 3 пигасуни туктувак лаорсимарматаассамани тайманна атаататсианганун икажортаоқаттарлуни қуккиутеқартитауллуни тайманна малитсиақаттарлунилу атаататсиангатта илеққусатуқарисимаянгиннин тайманна иджуарсиллуни атаататсиаммини илиппаллиалаорсимармат тайманна соорлу укалеқсиоқаттарлунилу аммалу писоқаттарлуни нунами аммалу қанутуинна пилериаксамини қинеқатталаорсимагиллунилу тайманна қаттерио қатауллунилу қатталаорсимармат тайманна қауяма тайманна Fort Niusammi қауямаяулиаорсимармат сигаартоқаттарнинганун тайманна умматақатсиалаорсимармат иманна соорлу пигумаяуюни икажоқаттарлунин киккутуиннарни кинаветтигут асингиттигуллу икажоқаттарлунин киккутуиннарник аммалу қаннутуинна оқарпаллианнани икажоқатталаорсимаа қовиасуквиутиллугулу илаанниккун тайманна аксоқутсиартарлуни иглаккауллунилу униккааккауллунилу тайманна қовиасутсиарлуни аммалуттао иққайгутигижуннартаву тайманна қовиагияққаиннақатталаорсиманинганун тааккунинга таавани Muskie River me amalu Big Lake amalu Maxis Coal Lake amalu Trout Lake amalu iqalu Fisherman Lake taimanna upigitsiariaqarpavut inuusinga qanuiliorsimaninganut tagvani titaqartauniarpuk katapajjutigijavalliayyuni taimanna inuusiqatsialaorsimangmat amalu toqulaorsimalluni April 16, 2026 mi kingunneqatlaringniarpuk pitaqaaqunniarsimalerninganut piluartumita mumeqattarsimanianut ammalu taqaassitsiarnialerputi Louis nagligiautsiarputit taimanna puigortaujaangillutillu katamayit uqausingit pequjivungaani qautikkaigutaqarneq kiujuti uqausikora pequtaulaorsimayunik ilitarsineq apequti uqausikkut maaqpimi malagaliorti kuinimi uqarti taana uqausiqaqqaugama ikpinnarlaringma tamakkununga ilinniariarpalaorsimayunut Chief Jimmy Bruno ilinniarvingani tamakkua soorlu inuusileqinnermu taakkua ilinniariarpalaorsimayu taikani kamagiyaugiaqarmata aperigumayunga taatsumunga aperi sivulertimun taana sivulerti ilitarsigunnerpa taikkua Chief Jimmy Brunos ilinniarpalaortun taimanna ilitariausimatsiariaqarmata taimanna iliortauniarpaan qoyunami maaqpimi malgaliorti qoyunami oqarti Chief Jimmy Bruno ilinniarvingmi taimanna pileriiqarmata taikani taakkuarukta ilinniariarutigia tamarmik taimanna ilitari simagakkiin ajigiitsiaanu kamagiyauqattarluti pilaorsimangmata ilinniariarsimalluting ungasiktumun taima ullutamaat taakkua aulaguttigiyangin pijutigillugit tusagaksailu katamayi ila uqausaqayaup niangmata narunangitto katamayuyumut qanuilio tawalau mangata taimanna uqausaqiligu taimanna qinnuik taimailinganiarpunga qayanamiuqarti qayanami 1971 utillu tamakko utilaorsimangmata ilinniaqaarpalaorsimayun ilangit utarlutik Fort mut asinginnullu nunalingnu Fort Simpson mu asinginnullu inuving millunni inuving mingaarsimaqattalaorsimallutik taakku ajalunnaip miutait soorlu taikani ilinniaqaarpalaorsimagillutik tau angeqaangat saniagun taana sivuliqti takuyartu qugayartaqa qanuilingaangmanga taikani ilinniaqaariu valaorsimayung angeqaqayau valaorsimayung taikani Chief Jimmy Bruno ilinniaqaarsimaqattalaorsimayunnun qoyna mixuliqti qoyna miqarti taikungarsimallunga ilinniarvingmut nayuqtaavalaortorlu takuyartorsimallugu takuyartulaorsimaluktaartaqaluaqa taikani taana katamayuyimu oqarunnarpunga taakku oqausiqikkannerunnarniaqattigu taikku ilinniaqaarpalaorsimayun pijutigellugu oqalluqiksaqatikkeruuluiarsimallugulu taimanna ila angerutikiyaassimayun kiinariartiaqaaqarninginnun tamanna asortaapullaaliarmat narunangitto qanuiliorniarneraqaangata qanuiliuqassuasuungugatta angituinnallarigu jaangikkaluartunga tamanna pijutigellugu uqallaruiarsaqatigiyunnartarput taimanna uqarlungalu katamayuuyuqtaana uqallaqatigiyunnartaqa saamiu ila saanniaqatta ila saanniilluni
So will the Premier take steps to ensure
taimanna sivuliqti taima Chief Jimmy Bruno ilinniaqaarpalaorsamayuq namakkua ilagiini kayuqunnarniarpa mamisarninginnun ammaruttao gaamatiimiutaujut soorlu ilinniaqaarpalaorsamayut taikaniimmata suli inuummata uqallaqatigiunnaqayartangin qoyunnamiuqarti maakfiimu malaliorti sivuliqti
There's residential schools across the territory. There was individuals who suffered harm at those schools across the territory, and it's a big part of the reason that we're in the situation we're in the territory. The effects of trauma, we see that every single day, and I attribute that to the history of colonialism in residential school. So everything we do when it comes to mental health and wellness has a focus on that healing component. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Premier. Oral questions. Member from Frame Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my questions, as I indicated in my statement, are for the Minister of ECC. Mr. Speaker, considering the issue noted in my statement of undersecured mine sites, can the Minister detail for the House the steps his department is currently taking to review their security estimation tool and make changes where necessary to ensure sites are not undersecured in the future? Thank you.
Thank you, Member from Frame Lake. Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I'm sure the member is aware, securities in the NWT are set by the Land and Water Boards under legislation, and estimates on reclamation securities are based on current versions of closure and reclamation plans which are also approved by the board. This is a multi-party process which and the figures are provided through an estimating process, part of which the company participates in. The exact makeup, I'm sorry, I've lost my. The board runs a multi-party process, and as the totally lost my place. I would ask the member to repeat the question, Mr. Speaker.
You, Mr. Minister of Environment and Climate Change. Member from Frame Lake, can you repeat your question?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do understand it's a pretty technical issue. Mr. Speaker, considering the issue noted in my statement of undersecured sites, can the mine sites, can the minister detail for the House the steps his department is currently taking to review their security estimation tool and make changes where necessary to ensure sites are not undersecured in the future? Thank you.
Like Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my apologies for the earlier response. Mr. Speaker, the tool that is used in the Northwest Territories for estimating the requirement under the security deposit is the reclaim tool. That model that we're currently using is an old version that's been around for a number of years, and we are currently working with the Government of Canada on a revised version of that tool to improve the way in which the estimates are developed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister of Environment and Climate Change. Second question, member from Frame Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate that. Mr. Speaker, can the minister give us some more details? What exactly is changing in the tool? What steps are being taken to address this issue, noting that once a security estimate is put in, it can quickly become out of date as inflation takes hold and things change on a site. So can the minister help us understand how Reclaim is being improved to help ensure that security estimates are up to date for the site in any given moment? Thank you.
Thank you, member from Frame Lake. Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, so the Reclaim model is based on current northern estimates, and those estimates would come from the Yukon, Northwest Territories, and Nunavut. And so the estimates within the tool would be brought up to more current, to-date estimates, and that part of that model update includes the different components that feed into that. So there's estimation and information that's provided by the proponent. That information is shared with the department. The department also contributes to that, and all of this information is then relayed to the Land and Water Boards, who ultimately set the level of security required. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister of Environment and Climate Change. Final supplementary, member from Frame Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am realizing this is quite a complex topic, and maybe some written questions will be necessary as well. Mr. Speaker, would the minister, considering what I've raised with the shortcomings of security estimation, I'm curious if the minister would commit his department to researching and considering the possibility of adopting a different or additional model for reclamation security as demonstrated by jurisdictions like Western Australia and Queensland, and reporting on the results of this work to the Standing Committee on Economic Development and Environment. Thank you.
Member from Frame Lake, Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, some of the other methods that have been used in other countries, such as Australia, is a pool method, where they're pooling resources. I'm just providing an example here. And, at our peak, we had 4 mines in the Northwest Territories, so that type of approach is not likely to work very well within the Northwest Territories. But I'm happy to take that question away from the member and get back to him with a more detailed response. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister of Environment and Climate Change. Oral questions. Member from Great Slave.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my questions today are for the Minister of ECC. As we all know, climate change is making our wildfire seasons longer and more intense. And that is... Sorry, Mr. Speaker. I'm also having a bit of a brain fart. Mr. Speaker, every time I'm about to go into session, inevitably somebody asks me, when is the new climate plan going to be available? Can the minister please give an estimate as when the updated climate and energy strategy will be made public? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member from Great Slave, Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the GNWT has developed a new energy and climate change strategy, which is planned to be released later this summer. That strategy is currently with the Standing Committee for input, and we will be addressing some public feedback on both requesting public feedback on climate change strategy, framework, and energy strategy, calling for a more clear, coordinated approach on climate change. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister of Environment and Climate Change. Member from Great Slave.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am pleased to see the work that ECC and MACA have done to create the Wildland Urban Interface Program, which fulfills one of the commitments in the After Action Review on the fire response from 2023. Can the Minister please let us know how many outstanding commitments from that review for ECC remain and what the timeline is to complete them?
Thank you, member from Great Slave, Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the department certainly takes lessons learned from the 2023 wildfire season and the recovery review very seriously. We've accepted all 25 recommendations, and work has begun on those. We are prioritizing certainly the implementation of these actions with the ones that have the greatest impact on public safety and community protection first, and we can be supported by the current resources that we have. We are certainly committed to the Wildland Urban Interface Program. We're very proud of that program, and that has just recently been put out. The specific dates for completion I don't have available today, but I'm happy to provide those to the member. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister of Environment and Climate Change. Final supplementary, member from Great Slave.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when we talk about fire smarting for residents, we're often talking about a home or a cabin's structural protection. At my constituency event last week, one constituent had a really interesting suggestion for the minister. Will he consider amending timber harvesting permits and any associated regulations so that residents might harvest firewood at municipal fire breaks? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, member from Great Slave, Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, certainly a very good point. I think that, you know, as we look at fire smarting, it's also about fuel reduction in the broader landscape. And, you know, there are certainly some limitations to the current legislation, such as the harvest distance from roads that must be met. However, in the new Forest Act, we will provide tools that have more flexibility when that act comes into force. And we're certainly happy to have the department examine whether there are opportunities within the current system that could better support the use of timber cutting permits and reduce the fuel loads around communities. We will also make sure that as we're doing this, it can be done safely in compliance with the acts. We'll be also happy to consider this as a suggestion as we move forward in the development of the final regulations. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister of Environment and Climate Change. Oral questions. Member from Mackenzie Delta.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Further to my member's statement, my questions will be directed to the Minister of Justice. We have a lot of offenders who
Amit samaharong matatamakko pekaya katakto tiwiyaw katakto lo amalo pekaya kan nakataklo ding teman na pelagute kaklo pelagute kakaso kataklo talo tamakko ninga utak takatakto ni anu leksibing mo ang kaklo te anu leksibing mo kanila kataklo te takko ninga teman na takko ano nakakasima solo akito yung makalo si katak palayang mata tayo na tigo yaw katay nakataklo tiglo no na mi kay solo ilin niya tataw na mamisak tataw katang ng sawa takaw na sawa taktog sawa ukakti kaya na mi ukakti tamakko solo no na mi ilin niya tataw niya tilugid amalo mamisak tataw niya tilugid akaw na sawa katalang mataman na no nakakaksima yun no tayo na amiso ng sawa kataklo tiglo anong leksibing mo utak takatakton Tema April 2006 nguniak tidlo 60 niyang matatamag ko ang ako tigi si mayak po nunaling ni mamisak titaw yun nakatakuluwi tayman na akaw naksaw lekpale akuluwi taman na nakakasima yun nun atok taw naksawpan tayman na adjiging ito ni pilagayak sa kaklo talaw tamanin nunat siyang may tamakkualo solo mamisak ng mun solo ilin niya kita kataklutik luping mata naman na pila kayaw tagbani 6 ngong mata tamakko ilaw niya to tamata miksano amalo mako takko katama yuyum nanang nginingak simaniak luting Makinsidel mo malakaliokte ko yun na okakte tema $600 katakman solo ulo tamak seuting giyangin nun ano leksak tao kataktut takko katama ila solo kinaw ya atong taon naksaut siya kung nakukalo ang mata atok tao katakpata solo iliniak titaw pata mamasak titaw pata no nami tamakko ano nakakasima yun teman ano leksak tao ngangluting piyo naksakata kayaman $600 ni akili titaw kaya kasong umatagawa makon teman na ano leksibing mga titaw ang tamakko ano nakakasima yun kaya katakto kaya nami okakte kaya nami okakte taman na tao to kawag ko katsiyo ningin anong leksak tao katakto no nakakaksima yun 12 ngong mataman na yung anong leksibing mitut no slave tayo ni anong leksibing ani amalo takwa asingin 100 ungata 100 todo yuksaw lutik tayo man na tayo ni ano leksak tao yun nunat siya may mata ano leksak tao luting ikadyo ko magatigo tamakko ano nalig ni miyo tao yun solo ano leksak tao kataklutik $2.2 million ni tamakko ato kung naknayang mata no nami iliniak tao kulugin mamasak tao kulugin lo no nakakasima yun no nalingning aksima yun no nalialani kayan mo okay Minister malikalang namot kingulapak kayan na may okay tamakko no naling ni tamakko kamagiyaw kataktot pilirayaw kaya kakmata tamakko no nga ano leksak tao kataktot solo no namili tao katakulugit iliniak ti tao rutik mamisak ti tao rutik lo tamakko ulo kaya nang ito ano leksya nguyut solo kamagiyaw tiyang nasaw pata asya ko akaw nasaw katakman no nami kaya nami okakte Minister maligalak na mot kaya nami okakte tayo mo okalaw kama tayo man na nunaling ni tayo man na ilin niya titaw niyak to mamisak titaw niyak to lo tayo man na ato kong nakatak na ang mata sa ulo sebo niya gon tayo man na pikajalitay nakto sa ulo no nami mamisak titaw kataklo akaw nasawa yang man tayo man na ikaw ang nasaw yun nakulugo tamakko nung ako yun nami okakte yung knife nang ano kaya nami okakte apik ko saka ana ka nang ito lang na mo ino lang na mulo tana o kasi kuluyak sa magkutag pa ni katimayuyo katamabiyo iluani ikanayak ta kalawangin ningin aniyak tularikod inulirikulo kawji ko man na kalawak ministro ukakong nakpat sungmad ami sa makaraw tamakko ikanayak ta kataksurin no kakaw tiga katakpakyak piluak tamik nutak kani kamayo sungudyon so luuk tu tigilugo tamakko nutakad kamagiyaw siya kakalawang mata ikajuk tao siya kataklo tiglo ata kayan mo kakte yung naibuan ng anot ang nakamay tulad na mo inunakan mo mula minister kaya na may okakte kauye magatigo tayo man na ataw siyang may kamay kaya kasong ugarang mata nutakad solo ilaming no utak pata akaw naksami inusakat siya akong nakulugin amiso tamakko ano takkan Taiman na ikayoktaw kataktud. Soglo kamagiyaw songumata. Sogosilirikki kunnun. Ami sonaksain angikaksemain nakaluaksuting ilaming ni takwa kamagiyaw kataktud. Inulakajikun non ikayoktaw katamata ilaming nudlo tukisi magamalo taiman na tigwang ngaming. Taiman na tamakwa sa pumayaw tsaka kaklutik lunutak kaping mata tamakwa kam pilariyo yung iniyakit sa kataklutik lo kamayiyo yun iman na ilak ko sito kalakan ng mod iliniyakit sinaswang ng mod kamanaksaw kaya kakaluang mata amalo ang kami ni obro ni no naming niya kuyan mo kakti ano hanang ito lang na mo inulang na mo minister apakot tungilya kuyan mo kakti taiman na itilugo tamakwa pilarigiyaw yun iman na isa maliw kaya kasong mata nutaka mo to kang nektuning so lutiwak tao niyak palunin ubalonin kano kamagiyaw kaya kakpan taiman na kano le kawji makatakpat taiman na isa maliw ko tigiyaw yun akaw lang ugalawang mangata so simod akso ko takatuin na kaya kang mata at siging ito ning kaya namiyo kakte ano kang ito lang na mo minister kaya namiyo kakte o kakte isa maliw katang na tamak ko nung kamagiya kang na minutak kaning sa pumiyaw kaya kang nangin so ko si pidyo tigil luwid taiman na isa maliw ko takahiyaw katang man kano sa pumiyaw kaya kang mga ta amarutaw na tiwak taw ng mga ta awlat sino kamagiyaw sunguman amalo tiwak kayaw niyak pata kamagiyaw kaya kang nakpatalun ni tako ano nakakasimayot kawji kaktaw sige kasungum mata no nakakasimayot gawin kung ino adjigeng itulutik tamakwa isa maliw ko tigiyaw kataktan kaya namiyo kakte ilagay akot yalan na yung ng anot kaya namiyo kakte unika ako na pa minister kano tamakwa makuktuno takalo tayo man isa maliw kataw titaw katakpa ukiyong inamakangata ano ka nang itulakan ng minister inulakan ng mundo tamakwa makuktuno natakalo damakwa ilagay ni titaw katak tupim makiyo titaw katang mata takwa ilagay tulad ko kamagiya kakatak sutik damakwa ukiyo kakto 12 ongatanon ilagay yaw kataw katakon ng mata kano kamagiyaw ng mga ta tayo man na inusin kano ito ng mga ta kaya na may kakti anya ka na ito rin mo inulok na mo lumenso apakoteo ko sa kut yaro live kati ano malagalaw te kaya na may kakti o kakti tayo man kati may yulong o ko sa kakaw gama tamak ko nga pilir kati kaya kang mata anya ka na ito rin ko inulaki ko ilan ni ko pilir yuyo tayo man na akaw ngaliw ko do katang akaw ngaliw ko te kakatang mata akso ko te kaksuting anek bida katak to ukto te ituin naktaka na ukto te ituin nang naktaka tema angyak nakpat angyak tao nakpa pan anek bilang naktok na angyak tao pan akaw naksaw kaya kong man ikayok tao siya kaya kang ninganon minister kay aking sakon nakpa aking suyon nakpalo kinaw yaning atok tao kaya kang nakto na kanulunaw ko kaya kang mga kanuiliw kaya kang mga loni utilaw nginya ni angak tao sa matilo ko tayo man na kapilog tao katang mata ilan ni ko tayo man kuwaan niya wala kaya tugalwat kau di mangin ni pidyo tigiluwid kaya na may ako tigiwa taman na tamak ko nalnayak tao sa mayo tamak ko nga inulata no pilata sa mayo non anya wala katakto non tamang milukta tamak ko anya wala katakto kanwele ulo yak tao katang mata So lo nalli kumangin maliklugid ajiging itukku kamagiyaw katamata. So lo ini sakang mga loni pilagiyik sakang mga loni anek yang anon. Kako ajiging ito time na inga kayang nilga ngata akisujaw katamata. Iya ko yan namiyak pakatan nagkatamayo yung iman na bukto takakauman. Kaiman na kanwiliw tao kayang mga takwa anak wilayang niyak ajiging ito. Kisyani kamayiyo yung kakatang tamak ko ni nga ikayo kayak tuning anak wilayang niyak tuning kanso kakpalaw ni solo amalo ang yaksisimallo tamak ko ni nga anak kaktuning inga kaya siya akang mata amalo ajiging ito solo ato kaya kasangong mata kaya namin kakti anak na ito lang na mo minister yalang na ipakitano kaya namin kakti iman atin lata ang ukang ikalawag lago tayo man na inun lata ang mata kaya di magyakang mata na minister tamag ko ito asak tao na yakton iman na ingin ka na yung ningin akik tawag yak si makatang mata o kau tiyaw si magarwa mga ta kau di mangin nama kanwiliw ka kang mga tayo man na apik ko te kalaya kibunga tayo man na minister kanwiliw ko nakpa unik ka ako tigaya kaning akaw nek sa kulo ikayok tayo siya ako nakatakulogin kaya na may inulagan ng mo anak nang itulagan ng mulo minister ni ukakti tayo man na pidyo tigilo tayo ma kamayik sa kayak tumi tayo man na pilariya kakpugod amar paipalaka yudjaw kataklo tiglaping mata tako awlak titaw niya kang kalunan nanganon kang awlak kaya kang niya mga angyak taw si mag-aangat kang awlak kaya kang niya mga kanokuluya kagsakudya katakto kalwan kingulak ba ka dyan na kitiano kaya namin kakte tamak ko akaw ngiliw ko tao mata tamak ko ilik ko sa kayang ani akang nangitulagayikon taman nakaakik tayo kan na nakayak pa ulo may asidyak si mayon atok titagon nakalo ang mata kaya namin kakte yalo na kanyano manligaliw te ani akang nangitulagan ng mo minister ukakte tayo ma ukakaw nga ma akik sisimalik tugod tak kuninga so lo na yang ngoni kamayo katakayak to ning kanwiliw kaya kang ning anon anak bilang niyak to kawji magatta isuidiw ko tao katak to ni iman na pigay ako tikak sa may galwak tago tamak ko ning aakso ko tao dyan nakayak to ning kaya man na adjiging ito na isuidiw ko tikak to ning kuya na may kakti apak ko tayo kawasikut inuwibu like mo maligaliw te kuya na may kakti tayo man na katimayulong ako sa kakaw kama tamak ko nga inna to kaning tayo man na adjiging ito na kay apek ko takatoy na kaya kanayak to nga ikaw yung magama taman na ukaw sa kakatak sa magatigo siwaniagon iman na ilta kayaw sa magayakang mata tamak ko inna to kay adjiging ito na ato katak to tamani no na siyami apik umaya minister ilak ko sa dalagan ng mo iliniak talaga ng mo lo di pa mga tan na tamak ko nga pila kaya kakatang mga kuyan mo kakte inuwibulag mo maniliok te minister iliniak talaga ng mo inalaga ng mo lo iliniak talaga ng mo ilak ko sa talaga ng mo lo kuya damiak pagkakatamay-yuyok apik ko takang mata-matamaming sanot tamak ko sunatuin na akit tok palya lang nang ipidyo tigilugid in na to kay ikayok tawya ka mata amalo iman na kamatsya kakata tamak ko nga kinaw ya kaluang inak sa katak to ni in na to kaning pilagayat siya kaya kakatigo amalo to ikayok siya katalawi kaya namin kakti Ilakosito kalaga na mo minister iniwi bootleg mo malgalayok ta ko yan na may okakte tako malgalayok te so ila inna to kay tayman nakina liok jo ako tek tayman na akili itaw kan nakatta kaya kang ikarwang mata tayman atuagak yaw tamak ko kamagiyaw at siya hakkan ng mata aksa taw katta ko nagitamak ko kina liok na sa inna to kay so no katok siya titigo kina yakta taw katta ton ilak ko singildo malit siya lugit kamagiyaw siya nagsawi akarwang mata Ini ako talaga ng mo, ilakos ito kalaga ng mo luministo ko, ila may kakte iltaksi si mayong at sumagkata may yoyo, kausa kaya nga inig amarutaw, to kasi umaluta tamakwa inna to kay so adjiging ito na ilakakpan, taman na inna to ka kinaw yako tigaya nga kinaw yali kaya ilo aksa tao kata kaya kang ito. Amalo ilaminig papatsik pat solo iltakayo si magyakakto tautungin nata kikuning iglumiyo takakmangan piluak taming taman na ikayok taw ya kasong may mata tamakwa inna to kaya kanon to na ilaminun ilagay ako inuwid bootleg mo malagaliyok te kaya na ito kasi kataman na iman na iliw kaso akto nga iman na iliw nga kaso akalwakto nga ataw taan na inna to kaktayaman na ang kasi magpad ilak kakuluyak to ni papatsigpan yang utaminig soglo iman na tayaman na ilik ko si to kaning ilak ko sito kangin ning maligluting kamagiyaw kanta kaya karuang man imaka apekayon nak niakta ka tamak ko ajiging uroyak to ni kinaw jiksaw te kasogo batain na to kay isumaksaksyo ko te kaksimang ba ataw siyang may ato kung nakulugid kinaw yaliyangid ataw si kalaw tidlugid taw tuglugid ang inak sa may kinaw yaliyang nag-iis magingingak lugo taman na kay minista mo kamagiyaw si maba ataw si kalang may ato nga luting ajiging ito ni kinaw yaliyangin ni atong ngingalo ni kaya na may kakte Inuwi mo malagalak ti ni akla na mo minister kaya na may okakti tamak ko pilera kaya si mayto kang mataman na kanok ikayo kung nakpitigo kaya magkunod atok tao katakto tayo man na tao katamayo o kausa kaya nga apak ko sige nga isumaksasyo ko tayo kanong niya pagka amaro tao katamayo mo kakong nako nga kauye mangitan ning ukaw sa kakon nakpata kay kutoy nine ikayok tao gutik sa kagayak tangin ning inna to kay akaw naksakon taman na liyo kasugun nakto nga kaya nimo kakte abe ko te ukaw sa good range like mo malagaliyok te kaya nimo kakte taman na sakalitaw ning itakwa kinaw yun na kaway sakto suwan solo tamagi ila so kaya sa ko tiga kataktang 2024 mi iman na solo kamagiyaw chats mga tamin sa ukaw nakpa kamagiyaw ka simang mga tatama tamamiksano kaway sakta sa kinaw yaling pila si mayang inig 2024 ngurak kami na kanang ito lang ng minister ukakti tayo manaw yumi Tako ilagay tulad kuno ukyono talliman ukaw sa simakatigo pekuyaw daw sa mayud tako nanayak taw sa maning riyangin simangin nakin ukaw sa rigaw nang itakamanaw yo kaya na may ukakti tamak ko akisok taw ko yaw sa mayud kinawan ng kaway saktor joam kuno kaway magatigo tayo man na ukakaw gamay ilang tayo may tu mata ilang kaya ko yung mata ilang ilo asya ko tan na apir ko tigitigap aking suktawan lega roakpan uvaroni takoninga akaungili o te kanak pani kamatsiang ito wita kanok.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So when we look at the past Auditor General reports with 2014 and then 2018, there has been progress, and there was evidence in progress between the 2014 to 2018. And now where we are with tracking with the progress, and I do like to highlight that when we look back at this system, this is a very complex system. It's a high turnover system. We have, many communities that as we said, like we struggle with recruitment into some of the smallest and remote communities, and now we're, over the years we've been struggling with the change in what has been going on in homes, because when you look at things that have been happening in homes from prior to the first audit to now to where we are today, and all of the review that we've done, we've had to constantly pivot to how we support families, and with the recruitment challenges, the training that we're doing to support and reinforce, and the prevention and the positions that we're putting into family preservation is a huge difference, and it's something that was never seen before. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
To Minister of Health and Social Services. Final supplementary, member from Range Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and we know it's complicated. We've brought these issues to the floor many times. Mr. Speaker, this will be the third audit that is tabled by the Office of the Auditor General into one program area. Mr. Speaker, the problems are well known. So they often repeat. Mr. Speaker, will the minister today accept responsibility for the results of, or does she agree that she is ultimately responsible for the outcomes of the Child and Family Services system in the Northwest Territories? Thank you.
Thank you, member from Range Lake. Minister of Health and Social Services.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this area, this is not just a department. It is the North. This is what has happened to Indigenous people in Canada, and my commitment has always been to every person in this territory and every Indigenous family is that we are doing everything that we possibly can to ensure that those children are safe. And, and when yes, the audits are just another tool to make sure that we have outside, somebody looking in and saying, we need to still continue to focus on this. And I said, but if you look at government, every single department, Auditor General is always going to be there and is always going to find some improvements as we change, as AI gets involved, as social media has blown up. I said everything has changed in this world, and so we're always going to have to. And I will always accept any responsibility for any of the work, and and the staff that are working in this department. These staff see the worst in this territory. They see our children and families at their worst. And we need to make sure that as a government, that we are there to support them and these children to have the best life that they can have in our territory. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister of Health and Social Services. Oral questions. Oral questions. Member from the Sawtooth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Following up on my barging statement earlier, my question is to the Minister of Infrastructure. My first question there, Mr. Speaker, what communications are underway between the Marine Transportation Services Department and the Canadian Coast Guard on navigation, routes, depths, and channel markers? Thank you.
Minister of Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I always appreciate the opportunity to speak about MTS. However, we've been in close contact with Coast Guard over the last few months. Coast Guard's been communicating with MTS. MTS has been trying to find out details on when they're able to put the buoys in. We've been working with ECC also to get water depths so that we're aware of what's going on. I've actually had some correspondence with the Minister for National Defence, who's now in charge of Canadian Coast Guard, to not put pressure, but express to the Minister how important this is to the north and how important it is for the Canadian Coast Guard to get out there and put navigable buoys out there so that we can get our boats out there as soon as we can. We have a commitment from the Canadian Coast Guard to get out there as quick as they can. For the first time, from my understanding, in a long time, that we actually have a date of June 13th that they're hitting the waterways and they're steaming down the river to put buoys in. And I assure you that our MTS team will be right behind them with the shipment. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister of Infrastructure. Oral questions. Member from the Satu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thanks for that information from the Minister. My next question there, Mr. Speaker, is huge concerns from last year was, in particular, rates and the short notices for sailing, which really put challenges on the shipment of southern vendors to get their cargo to Hay River. Can the Minister share preparations of practices or mitigations to these two particular concerns? Thank you.
Thank you, Member from the Satu. Minister of Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So the first part I'll talk about is the rates. Earlier on this year, a team from MTS traveled the Satu area to speak to customers, and customers have been spoken to in all our shipping routes to talk about rates, and the potential changes and impacts to improving them. So that's on the works. Secondly, in regards to the sailing season last year, very unique situation, of course. We had water that we were unsure of that would be able to operate our sailing of the boats. So we were concerned throughout the whole season, and as Coast Guard was able to put the buoys in, our boats followed them. And that was the point of getting the high water and making sure we were able to do it. However, they weren't sure at the very beginning. So, we were able to get communication out as soon as we could. As soon as we found out Coast Guard was sailing, we were sailing. So we don't determine whether or not the waterways are navigable. Coast Guard does, and as soon as they give us the okay, MTS is right behind them. The fortunate thing this year is everything's looking promising for water levels. So the snowpack in the mountains, the water levels in all the river systems, the Liard Basin, the Peace Rivers, the Slave River, the Hay River, all the water levels are high, and that will definitely help the Mackenzie River with the flow so that we can get our boats going up to the Arctic. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister of Infrastructure. Final supplementary. Member from the Satu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thanks to the Minister for those who replied. Those are just identifications of challenges that we face at the other end. My last question there, Mr. Speaker, can the Minister, within his portfolio on the petroleum products division side, share some of the fuel volumes that are going to be barged down to the Satu communities? It really relieves the shipment over the winter road season as we get more volumes during the summer. Thank you.
Member from the Satu. Minister of Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We were fortunate with our winter haul again. We were able to get a lot of fuel to the communities. But again, we will take advantage of a good shipping season and haul more fuel. So we're forecasting deliveries to the Satu this year of to Fort Good Hope, 650,000 liters of gasoline, 3.4 million liters of diesel. Into Toledo, we're looking at about 300,000 liters, of gasoline, and 3.3 million liters of diesel. And as always, these volumes are subject to change depending on demand, and if there's a possibility of adding more, we always can. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister of Infrastructure. Oral questions. Member for Mophie.
Thank you, Mr.
Koine mi okakte ape kutikera na minister mo anya kaming ituloy na mo inulang na mulo kauji matsia kaya kakata nung nakakak sa mayulo te tamane nung natsya me taman na nung nagigate ko ino kutigigate ko do tema okakte tema na minister anya kaming ituloy na mo inulang na mulo ape kigumaya ka unika ako nakpasong mayalo na miuta ilin niyak to sibulak pautitaw laukpat kauji saktaw tilugid sabi kayak takakningan soklo ima kataktangan ilin niya wing me taman na kayo sititaw niya pa taman na nunaling ni mi utaw yun nunalialangon niya sa yun yaro na himutuin na ang itolo makoy mo maligaliw ti anya ka nang itulaga na mo minister anya ka nang itulaga na mo minister ko yan na may okakti iman na liolaw kata sabuldak pami na ilin niya ko yaw man sabi kayak takang ning ano ima katak tangin anya kan nang itulagay ko tagbani inunalipaw yak ko ni yalo na mi atula ko ilaw mata to sakti sila mata lo tayo man na ilagay pilagayilo ni ang yung kakayaw yun lo ni nutakano kauyo saktaw pata tayo na anya talaga di kong ino aper ila kauyo saktaw pata kakitaw ko taman na ukaw sa kayaw si mangman kikunulo ka kung nakayang mga ta kasi ano naliala ni nanituin ng taman na sabi kayak takakpat anya wing mon kamagiyaw gaya kasungan mata kauyo malutig do anya talaga di ko naliala ang unasaw yun iman na kauyo saktaw gaya kang mata awang iktaw lutig taman na yaro na may kamagiyaw lang man tamang milukta awang ito kauyo saktaw gaya kang nangin nukak sa malawang ito galwang kisyan taman na lingay na naman anya talaga big gijaw yu taman nunaliwala ni kamagiyaw kaya kasungan mata tamag ko nga makoy mo malagaliw te tema okakte ay tango garoko taman na minister minister pila katigit katsela maanne aktuleri kunning anne apinning taman na tasakti tawlaw tilugun at samita ko ano na liwjud sabi kayang ni angin saning pitakalaw mata timingin minister unika ako nakpasong mata na department nutanit tasaktit sila sa mangilan anya tatuin na karningin nut sabi kaya kaktuning nutakaning ilin niya tuning ima kataktuning sabi kaya kaktuning kainamik kakti okay yung kakti takwa tu kasi majutik sa pilaw takka anya tulad ko solo ang ayo kakayang ano taman na kanatami pitakangin naksaulang masabi kayang nagtakwa ano takkan ang naktawlutik ila pitakalawa kalungin nakaktawlo ni solo kamagiyaw siya akong naksoteglo sabi kayak tak si major imikatak si manikuluti imaklungming kay mama na ilin niya kung may imay ko ulo kaya na unang mata anya kang ila anya tatuin na kaya kang na mo isimarog to kaktuin ni upatay man na kawisak taw kan na kung naktuna yung wak kung nunaling ni ilagay ako kinulik miss tana apat ko tigin niya ka anya kang nang ito laki tamag ko apat ko takzuala ka na mo tayo man na o kasi utak ka niya po nga pagkatakzuala ka na mo kamagiyaw niya kaila binista mo magkaya mo apakson na ka mo watcha o ka na utak ka niya po nga apak ko tayo ako si Good Frame Lake South maligaliw te kaya niyo kakti tana apak ko tayo kaya ka tana ECE ko minista nga nalunayak tayo ka na siya kung lugo taman na minister nalunayak sigun na pa kanwili ang mga ata pila review yo tamako yakang nervi ta ko naliw ko makakaroang mga ata naliw ko makakaroang ito kano ka magayaw ka ta mga ata sa lamasak taon na mo Kaya nami ukakte ukperusuk tungataan na katamayo kausak kongman tamakon nga to kisige ako tiksaw kayak tuning ta ACWA kuno tamakwa tokkoktaw sa majuni tamakwa to kasi maju tiksa sakati taw sa mangito imalaga ng mo katamayo yunik kausak taw kunang ito manaw yumi taman na. Abat mo talaga ng moment sa prime life mo malagalokte kaya nabi ukakte oy maya ka mama mena ko lo oy maya tuin na kama sungman to kasi kaya ako teksan pisi magun nang ilak kaya tama miksano kaya nabi iksot ukakte kaya nabi ukakte tayo man na pinakanitin ni tamak ko ng kayo sa kutaw sa mayonig nadli ko makakpata kasarong maksain na jutik sa wayak tuning uyakang niyawin ni kayo sa katakati ko tamak ko tukisige ako tuksa itako pititaw langin mata uwatin manaw yo kayo sa mayo sakiti ko nang itaka sakit pinakangin mata frame like mo malilewak te kaya namin kakti taman na kamagikan na ko nang niyataka iman na kayo sa kanang lugo kaya Daibik tan na matuyaw na ang man ikarilo tan na kawisak taw na kalunita o siya ko kanak minister tayo na ikari miutayin salamaksak taw na yan o titik taw sa mangipad soro ukiukun ila akiligi akakayak mata akituyalong ni salamaksak taw na yan o yakang niya magilaw tangan kaya na may kakte ukakte man na tako kami kuyaw yugulo ulumi tako ataw sa pengasudlo ni tamak ko uyakang nervi pitaka ila awla ko na yung mata salamaksak tawalian na lang mata tayo maling at sakpok tayo maulumi mo tikitlugo apak ko tayo kausikot kaya slay pong malagalakte Nekuakta ka apekila man taman na
Mackenzie Basin watershed. It's expected to be 65 square kilometers in size and estimated to use up to 24 million cubic meters of clean water annually. That's, to put that in perspective, 24 million cubic meters is lifetime consumption of 460,000 people, Mr. Speaker. Alberta has decided there's no environmental assessment needed, just permits. So my question for the the Minister of Environment and Climate Change is, how will the GNWT assess impacts on water quantity or quality and intervene if required? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member from Great Slave, Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as the member has indicated, you know, the Wonder Valley AI Data Center project is a large project. It certainly is a large water consumer, and currently there are no regulatory submissions within the province of Alberta. So therefore, at this time, there is no project to do an evaluation on. We will continue to monitor the situation and evaluate, participate when the opportunity arises. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
To Minister of Environment and Climate Change. Member from Great Slave.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, without an environmental assessment, I don't know at what point the minister could intervene. Could he clarify? Thank you.
To Member from Great Slave, Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, without the ability to intervene in a non-existent environmental assessment, we will certainly use the tools that we currently have through our transboundary water agreements to monitor, continue to collect the data, look at the flow rates that are flowing into the Northwest Territories, and use that as an assessment tool as we move forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister of Environment and Climate Change. Final supplementary, member from Great Slave.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, recognizing that 24 million cubic meters a year might be removed from the water system, can the minister commit to crunching the numbers and letting us know in the House what that might look like for the Northwest Territories? Thank you.
Member from Great Slave, Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, water certainly is an area that's top of mind to me. I've recently had a number of conversations with the minister in Alberta, and certainly, we will continue to monitor this situation, monitor the flow of water into the Northwest Territories, and continue to report that data in our regular reporting process. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister of Environment and Climate Change. Oral questions. Member from Yellowknife North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I have questions for the Minister of Environment and Climate Change on a different subject, on the topic of waste management, and particularly the Extended Producer Responsibility Program. So that means trying to get producers of things like tires and electronics to take responsibility for those things when they go kaput, when they become waste, instead of dumping that responsibility and cost on our community government landfills. So when I last asked the minister about this exactly 2 years ago, we were told regulation updates would be complete in 2026. So can the minister tell us what is the status of the work to update regulations that would bring the new Waste Reduction and Resource Recovery Act into force? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
From Yellowknife North, Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, back in 2026, when I committed to that work, we, since then we've refocused our priorities from the Legislative Assembly, and so we continue to work on this from a policy perspective. The work is not yet complete, and it likely won't be complete until the next Assembly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister of Environment and Climate Change. Member from Yellowknife North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So that is disappointing to hear. I wonder if the minister can update us on anything the department has learned from the past several years of ongoing research into, for example, what mechanisms for extended producer responsibility could be feasible or enforceable in the NWT. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member from Yellowknife North, Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we've really looked at the Yukon experience. That's where the focus of the work has been, a jurisdiction very much like ours. And part of the experience that they've had in the Yukon is because of the economy of scale in small territories, it's really hard to implement a program that is specific to one territory. So a big part of what we've learned there is that we need to probably partner up with a southern jurisdiction to ensure that we have that economy of scale to be able to better deliver that type of a program. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister of Environment and Climate Change. Final supplementary. Member from Yellowknife North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So given that community governments are currently managing waste and landfills in our communities, does the minister yet have any clear idea what would be the role or expectations of community governments in the rollout of extended producer responsibility? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Member from Yellowknife North. Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think as we work on developing this program and what it potentially looks like, part of that framework of the final delivery of the program would include the role of different community governments and what that would look like in the way of collecting or delivering the program. I don't have that specific level of detail here with me today, but I'm happy to get it for the member. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Environment and Climate Change. Oral questions. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Rule 7.2(7), I received follow-up information for the following oral questions from the first session of the 20th Legislative Assembly. Oral question 1087 and oral question 1194. These follow-ups will be printed in full in today's Hansard. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Oral questions. Colleagues, our time is up for oral questions. Written questions. Written questions. Return to written questions. Return to written questions. Member from Rangeley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I seek unanimous consent to return to item 9 on the orders, oral questions.
Thank you, member from Range Lake. Member from Range Lake is seeking unanimous consent to return to oral questions. Are there any nays? Written questions. Written questions. Replies to the Commissioner's address. Replies to Commissioner's address. Petitions. Petitions. Reports on committee on the review of bills. Member from Frame Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, your committee would like to report on its consideration of Bill 41, an act to amend the Real Estate Agents Licensing Act. Bill 41 received second reading in the Legislative Assembly on February 11th, 2026, and was referred to the Standing Committee on Government Operations for review. The committee completed its clause-by-clause review of the bill with the Minister of Municipal and Community Affairs on May 27th, 2026. No amendments were proposed. Mr. Speaker, the committee reports that Bill 41, an act to amend the Real Estate Agents Licensing Act, is ready for consideration in Committee of the Whole. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, member. The motion is in order. To the motion. Question has been called. All those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstaining? The motion is carried. Committee report 41 has received. Bill 41 has received, and we move to Committee of the Whole. Reports on the Committee of the Review of Bills, reports on the Committee of Review of the Bills, reports on standing and special committees, reports on standing committee. Member from Frame Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, your Standing Committee on Government Operations is pleased to provide its report on the review of Bill 41, an act to amend the Real Estate Agents Licensing Act, and commends it to the House. Mr. Speaker, I move, seconded by the member for Great Slave, that Committee Report 42-20, brackets 1, Standing Committee on Government Operations report on the review of Bill 41, an act to amend the Real Estate Agents Licensing Act, be deemed read and printed in Hansard in its entirety. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The motion is in order. To the motion. Question has been called. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All those abstaining? Motion is carried. Member from Frame Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move, seconded by the member for Great Slave, that Committee Report 42-20, brackets 1, Standing Committee on Government Operations report on the review of Bill 41, an act to amend the Real Estate Agents Licensing Act, be received and adopted by the Assembly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The motion is ordered. To the motion. Question has been called. All those in favor? Yay. All those opposed? All those abstaining? The motion has carried. Member from Frame Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, members. Mr. Speaker, I move, seconded by the member for Great Slave, that pursuant to Rule 9.4, brackets 5, brackets A, the Government of the Northwest Territories table a comprehensive response to this report, including all recommendations, within 120 days, or at the earliest opportunity subsequent to the passage of 120 days. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, member. The motion is in order. To the motion. Question has been called. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All those abstaining? Motion is carried. Reports on standing special committees. Reports in standing special committees. Tabling of documents. Tabling of documents. Minister responsible for WSCC.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to table the following two documents. The Workers' Safety and Compensation Commission 2026 Corporate Plan and the Northwest Territories Public Utility Board 2025 Annual Report. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister responsible for WSCC. Tabling of documents. Minister responsible for status of women.
Speaker, I wish to table the following
Sakkatising gumayo okuninga takwa inuakto sa mayo universal amaluak na ilo takwa katimajudik sa kataknertot tan nek na katimayiming sa pijudik ilugit okay ni okakte sakkatit sigumay takwa nga University Calgary mi tan iman takwa nga anak taw katakto ang na pijutigilugit ko islay po malalekte ko na make katamayita ko 41 maliklugo nun at siya may maligak sakatit sigo mayo nga 2026 may takwa kawis ako taw si mayo kinaw ina kawis akta siya kumon tamag ko ano takay pijutigilugit nun papataw katakto inulakit ko no ko yun yung kakte Sakit daw nang iti takay. Kau jika niya pakajunga ng akto rin simula kami o kalamakta ko lugi pa kaya excited. Katemayi. Range yalo na yung katianot. Kati tayo tagmaning katemajutik sa ni karo mga naroon na siyak sa maniakpok. Yal na kasi ano maligalekte kain makakte atwa kaktawan na asid jaktaw na aso ke kam karwako nunalipaw yan nun ta ko yal na me naman ko iglulag ng mabidyo na kakto nunalipaw yan kuning smayo yal na kasi ano maligalekte kaya na may sakit tayo ng ititakay, kawjikan ng sudak pa mga kalamakta ng ipikonyaksayd. Kamaligalang ng mga minister. O kakti kawjikay mga 2026 ng lakpat taman na pikonyaksak 49 tamag ko ano naling ni solo ano na siyami. Kaya na may minister, kawjikan ng sudak pa mga kalamakta ko lang ipikonyaksayd. Sulok pa mga kalamakta ng ipikonyaksayd. Tungilan yung kalamakta ng ipikonyaksayd. Katamatuin na lang na ipikonyaksayd at singin nilukaw sa kang niyarlo ni ita na decho mo malagaliok te iksibaw ta kayaw ni.
I will now.
Kaya katimagaya ako nang nalakpagod, katimagaya ako naksibagod. Tako katimayit, inuwibog lang may malagaliyokte. Kaya na may iksawta, tayo na nukka ko yilakto ka. Taan na katimayuyok, taan na piko nga ako tao yung nukka ko malang mata. Namang sangitut, namang sakto, namang sangitut. Kayo sibuk tayo man na nikubin niya po nga, pianing utakang niya lungatak ko ni nga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, your committee has
Tako katama si uko sa kamana ukuninga 4450 batting.
To an automatic voice.
20 brackets one uko sa kayaw tilugi. Amalo katama tuin naktilugi ang tao ko lugit. Sa tumi malagalaw titong inaktauli. Katama yuyak ilon na katianot. Namagsakturugtat. Namagsangitut. Nawangitut. Kayo siyo. Uning kang ningita ko katama tuin ng pekanyo na karamaktan ng project sa katama yuyok. Yalong na katianot. Kaya naman yung kakti, ang tao ko maluwak itong number 9 mo. Uta ko malong apek ko ti katimajitek sani. Kaya naman. Katimayo yuyok tan na yalong na katiano. Uta ko mang apek ko tik sa apek song nakmot. Apek ko ti ukaw sekut akak tawa. Ngayon yung karamak tao ningit, pakajak site, karamajitek site. Kaya naman yung kakti, karamajitek site, tal ni maurakpan, May 29, 2026, tan mo pa udlakot.
Returns to oral questions, recognition of visitors in the gallery, acknowledgements, oral questions, written questions, returns to written questions, replies to the Commissioner's address, petitions, reports of committees on the review of bills, reports of standing and special committees, tabling of documents, notices of motion, motions, notices of motion for first reading of bills. First reading of bills, Bill 48, an act to amend the Worker Safety Compensation Act number 2. Second reading of bills, consideration in committee of the whole of bills and other matters, Bill 3-20(1), table document 445-20(1), table document 483-20(1), report of committee of the whole, third reading of bills, orders of the day. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. This House stands adjourned till Friday, May 29, 2026 at 10 a.m.